sad 6-year-old you were. No, I'm just kidding.
What a sad 6-year-old I was. What a sad 43-year-old I am. Like, some shit never changes. Oh, hey, AJ, what's going on, man?
Oh, hey, what's up, man? I didn't know we were live.
Yeah, well, that makes two of us, but apparently YouTube was faster than I thought today.
Hey, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Hopefully everybody out there is having a nice Monday. Are you having a nice Monjay day?
Yeah, minus the awkward moment just now.
Everything's an awkward moment on
everything's
GamesCast Live,
great.
AJ.
Yeah, man. No, I'm having a wonderful day that just got even better. Right, meow, Brian.
Nice.
Right, meow.
I will do my best to not ruin that for you.
I'm so screwed.
Yep. Let's start the show. This is PSVR Gamescast Live. We film live every single Monjay, West Day, and 2 Wise Friday right here on YouTube. We do it live, 6 p.m. Eastern, for your viewing pleasure. For those of you who like to watch with your eyes, for those of you who like to watch with your ears, I think I got that right. We do this also on podcast services of your choice, like Spotify, because our good friend Jay Meow uploads these things after the show is over. Also, if you don't like watching this live, it's all right. If you don't like watching this at all, it's all right too. But our good friend Sci-Fi Gamecat Henry puts timestamps into the sucker after the fact. So if you're just trying to bounce around and listen to the news and conversations that you want, well, come back later. My name is Brian Powell from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole. And this gentleman over here to my right, it's AJ from The Underground, PSVR Underground.
Orbs. What is up, Brian? What is up, Game Cats? Happy Monjay, Brian. You remembered to say it. I'm so proud of you. This is going to be a good day. I just know it.
Don't get used to it.
Now, I know that Mondays usually suck. But we are here, Brian, to ensure their Monday sucks. Just a little bit less.
This much less. Ooh, look, I had a focus change.
Much less.
This much less.
This much less. It's going to be a damn good day today, Brian.
Hell yeah. I'm excited. Monjay. Guys, a little bit of housekeeping. Make sure that if you're not already a member of our Discord server, click the link in the description below and come join us over there. That's where these conversations happen 24/7 and sometimes 7/24, which is a little bit stranger. Yeah. You need some long division to figure that shit out. Also, don't forget to subscribe to AJ's channel. AJ, talk to me, man. Like, you hit 10,000 subscribers recently. What is going on over at PSVR Underground? Click the link in the description below and subscribe.
Oh, man. Just, the usual. So recently brought back interactive chat every Thursday now. So that's a lot of fun. Of course, I do this show
What's Monday, interactive chat, AJ?
That is my own little solo podcast thing where I just get to just vent and talk to you guys, and we just do nothing but sit there and just talk about nothing but PSVR2.
So we're all GamesCast Live without me. Is that what you're saying? GamesCast Live without me.
It's basically GamesCast without you.
Which makes it my favorite Gamescast of the week.
But no, it's a lot of fun. And happy. That's the first one I've done since PSVR2 has come out. And yeah, like I said, we just rant and rave about PSVR2 and how much we love it, and it's great.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Now let's draw in the game feline with a $5 tip. Says, seeing AJ's personal top 10 list made me wonder when we're going to see our first PSVR2 top 10 or more debate. Looking forward to it. It's a good question.
I can't wait, man.
Yeah. We're getting closer to the time where we're able to do it, right? Because we wanted to make sure that you, me, Wes, Miles, everybody had a chance to kind of play everything.
Yeah.
And I
feel like I'm ahead of most everybody on that because you do reviews one by one.
Yeah.
So you're focusing a lot of time. You've got 3 game casts a week. You've got PSVR this week every week. You do a lot other things. So I had a lot of time to play everything. That was my main focus at launch, and kind of put together what I thought were the top 15. But yeah, man, I can't wait for our first top 20 debate, whatever we do end up doing. I think let me tell you, I did a top 15.
We should do a 20.
I think you should go top 20, because I think there's at least 20 games deserving to be recognized for awesomeness.
Yeah. SB in the chat says they're waiting for Firmament. Smart. I don't know if we're waiting for anything other than just kind of getting caught up. But we keep saying over and over, like, what an amazing launch PSVR2 had. And I think it's kind of time to put our money where our mouths are, right? And say, like, if we can make a top 20 list with nothing but bangers, which I totally think we can at this point, then it's like, talk about a fucking successful launch. The last 2 months have been incredible. So Dead Island. Darth Vader, the game cat, in the chat with a $10 tip says, Dead Island 2 is so fun. I cannot get enough of it. But what would make it even more fun is PSVR 2 support. Fingers crossed it's on their roadmap. Come on, damn Buster. Make it so. Okay, so AJ, I've been playing a lot of Dead Island 2 this weekend. I can't lie. It showed up on Friday, and I was like, I don't know, like, when I'm gonna have the time to play this. And then, like, I worked my ass off Saturday between doing a 2-hour AMA and a ridiculously labor-intensive PSVR this week. I woke up on Sunday and just, like, beat, man. I was exhausted, and I was like, oh, like, I don't want to get in the headset. I don't want to really do any work for the channel. And so I was like, I'm just going to play Dead Island 2. It showed up. It's time to fucking play. Dude, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. And, like, and here's the most interesting thing about Dead Island 2, AJ, is that it's getting kind of average reviews, like mostly 7s, like maybe a few 8s here and there, maybe a few less than 7s. But when I picture playing this game in VR as is, right, but with 2 hands and, like, getting to swing my weapons and that kind of stuff, it would be one of the best VR games we've ever played. That's the difference between VR and flat screen, is that even kind of a mid flat screen game would make an amazing VR game.
Well, let me tell you, Brian, I mostly agree. I do think part of the appeal of that game is that, the gore, the crazy. I was watching you play in the Discord actually a little bit, and I was watching you do the attacks, and there's this heavy emphasis on the gore and, like, knocking somebody's face and their jaw flies off or their eyeball pops out, and that's what makes that game pretty funny and pretty fun to watch, pretty entertaining.
For sure,
yeah. And the thing is if they were to do that for VR, they would have to probably, spend some time really getting that to feel right, getting those physics down. The only people that I can think of that have nailed such intricate physics design is Saints and Sinners with their dynamic slicing and dismemberment. But I agree, man. Look, I'm of the mindset at this point to where, like, you don't even have to go full, like, every last little nook and cranny feel like totally built for VR. And the greatest example is Resident Evil Village. That game is so fantastic. I just started my second playthrough of it on Village of Shadows difficulty.
So good.
And this is, I think, the first time I've played it since around launch time, and man, nothing has really changed in terms of the way that game amazes me and just how good it feels and how fun it is. All they basically did was throw it in VR and then add being able to grab your weapons from all over your body and weapons and items from your body, and then have manual reloading. And, like, there's a couple of other things. I'd be doing it a disservice to say that there's not a couple other things, but that's, like, the minimum you can do. And that goes such a long way to still make it, in my opinion, the best PSVR 2 game at this time. So totally agree. That's really all they need to do with a lot of AAA or third-party games, whatever, flat screen games, is just bring in the minimal VR mechanics to it, and it'll go a long way.
Agreed. it's funny because we give Saints and Sinners so much credit, right? We think that Saints and Sinners is one of the best VR games ever made. Retribution follows that up, especially on PSVR2, with an even better version of the thing we already loved, and like more to do, more places to see, and things to do, and things to craft, and it's just like, damn. And I'm literally 3 or 4 hours into Dead Island 2, and I'm not even like just making this comment off the cuff. I thought about this a lot while I was playing. Dead Island 2 fucking blows away Saints and Sinners in almost every single department. And so again, if it was just in VR, this 7 out of 10 game would become like 9.5 out of 10. You know, it's VR does a lot, man, just all on its own. Curious to see how many developers take advantage of VR to make their game better this generation.
Well, I have a feeling that's going to come up in conversation in today's episode, Brian.
I have a feeling too.
Call it a hunch.
Looper, the Underground Gamecat, who's been a member for 2 months, which is, again, very fucking cool that that members have free super chats. I love this. I don't understand how it works. We'll figure it out. But if you guys know how it works, then wonderful. It says, I only have 2 nitpicks about Village VR's implementation. Ladders and boats. I can deal with ladders. I would love it if it was just easier just to climb, right? You get on the ladder and just using the analog stick makes way more sense. The boats are ridiculous. I mean, you can't. It's one of the silliest things I've ever seen in VR, right? It's like the boat has no momentum. You push forward, it doesn't take a while to get moving. It just fucking goes, and when you release the analog stick, it stops,
and it just yeah.
I mean, it is silly.
Still, I'll take it all day to get a game like Resident Evil Village in VR.
Totally agree. Oh, Looper says it's 1 message a month. Interesting. We gotta work on this. I feel like members should get like one message a week at least, minimum. All right, we'll figure that shit out. But thank you, Looper. All right, man. Well, listen, you know, we always like to thank all the people that help this channel run, you know, Patreon supporters and people who tip in the chat and all that stuff. Like, you know, the financial side of this is very much appreciated. But every single Monday, there's a different group of cats we like to thank, isn't there, AJ?
That's right, Brian. We would like to thank those who support us in another way by changing their name to something Gamecat, something Gamecat related, or something Gamecat adjacent, as you and something Gamecat adjacent like to say. Where is something Gamecat adjacent, by the way? I haven't seen him in a while.
I hope that means he's playing a lot of PSVR2 games.
And today we have 3 new Gamecats to welcome to the Gamecat Dojo.
It took you that long to count to 3? You're like, and we have.
I went 1, 2, 3. That's how long it took to count to 3.
I want to put the run of show up on the screen for everybody to see. So because I literally counted up for AJ now 3 Gamecat name changes. Okay. Right.
Don't expose what goes on behind the scenes here, man. Leave the mystique. It makes it more interesting.
Sirens on my end. Let's do this, AJ.
First, we have Anakin Le Game Grogu.
Bing. Okay, so I put Game Grogu or just Grogu into Translate, into Google Translate. It couldn't detect it. It just changed it to game. It just changed it to Grog. So I have no idea what this means.
Grogu is Baby Yoda's name from the Mandalorian series. So we have
enough with the Star Wars. Nope, moving on. Moving on.
The game Baby Yoda.
Okay.
We've also got Dutch DJ, the racing game amphibian on a daily.
Bing. The racing game amphibian on a daily. There's a lot to take in there, man. But we don't have that kind of time, so let's move along.
Finally, last but certainly not least, we have serial killer, the birthday celebrating Gamecat. Now, tell me, did he just give himself? Did he just plug his own birthday shout out?
Yeah. He should have put the date of his birthday just so, like, you know, everyone could wish him happy birthday. He might be here in the chat. Who knows? But if you are in the chat, let us know when your birthday is. It is coming up. So happy early birthday, and also happy belated, because there's no way I'm going to remember on the day. That's just. I'm not that good at this.
Happy birthday, cereal. This is the way.
This is the way. Guys, if you have no idea what we're doing here, Gamecats are the loyal following of Without Parole. Every Monday we give a shout out to the people who changed their YouTube or Google name to something the Gamecat. Obviously, you can see there's a lot of variations on this theme. Game whatever you want. Game dog, game amphibian, game flower pot. Be whoever you want to be, because we love you and accept you no matter what. But then put a comment below any of our videos with hashtag Gamecat so we can find you, give you a shout out on next Monday's show.
Matthew Sutra Blah says this is the way. Blue Juice says this is the way. Matthew Longo says Star Wars is not the way, it's trash.
Thank you. Matthew Longo and I finally agree on something. Although it took him fucking probably 9 movies to figure out it's trash, and it took me 4. Right? I got through the Phantom Menace and I was like, this is enough of this. Like, this is not going well, right? Phantom Menace was fucking trash. And I was like, and I'm done. And then I never went back to Star Wars. Everyone's like, oh, you need to get back to Star Wars to watch like Rogue One. Or you need to get back to Star Wars to watch this movie or that movie or this TV series. I'm like, no, I saw Phantom Menace. I'm good. Moving on. I have other things to do with my time. The original trilogy, AJ, fucking...
This is the way.
Flawless.
Yeah.
Flawless.
Mostly.
Right? The
Even
original
that had
trilogy,
flaws.
whatever. Is it the original Indiana Jones trilogy? Flawless. That's something I'll go to bat for. I don't care about Star Wars. Wow. What are we doing here?
Well, Brian, we are here to talk about some PSVR 2 news and discussion. And of course, you guys can sometimes. Sometimes.
Every so often.
Occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Every so often.
Yeah.
Can give us a topic to talk about before we get to the main topic, of course, and that is via viewer takeover questions, which Steve IRE went to our Discord, went to the viewer takeover question, and asked, hashtag viewer takeover like a pro, having seen gameplay footage of Unrecord and finding it a bit too realistic, certainly enough for me to consider any shouts for it being in bad taste a bit warranted, is there anything in VR you think you would cross the line as going too far and just wouldn't want to play? When is realistic too realistic in VR, Brian?
I don't know, man. The second this conversation comes up, I always go back to the 90s, right? Because that's my comfort zone. And back when like Mortal Kombat came out into arcades and was coming home to consoles, and then like Night Trap was like this big thing, right? And then we had to like form the ESRB in order for the government not to step in and start regulating our games and censoring shit. I go back to that and go, man, in 1995 or 93 or whatever the hell it was, that's the shit that we thought had gone too far. Like the parents and some gamers and people just were like, this is too much. This is too much. Our culture changes constantly, right? And we all, and some of us change with it and some of us don't. But we kind of change what's considered acceptable and unacceptable. And I think that like VR has always been, or gaming has always been pushing toward realism. I mean, even the Sega CD games, right? Like the Sega CD days were all about FMV and trying to like push realism, even if they weren't good games, right? But we've always been trying to get there by any way possible. And so now that we're finally kind of here, people go, wait a minute, this is too much. And it's not surprising to me, but at the same time, it's surprising to me.
Yeah. I like your answer with that. I'll just go with that. Honestly, I don't really care. I look at, there are many like forms of art. Art is subjective, and I think that it's a great technical achievement that they've been able to produce something that looks so realistic, at least from a concept point. I don't know, it's like this isn't actually a game in a fully playable state that is being distributed right now, as far as I know. So it's like, it's cool that they made something real realistic. I think, like I said, I don't think art or something that people design is always a reflection of real life or causes more violence in real life. I don't like violence in real life. I really don't. But I love it in video games. Yeah. Like I love gore and stuff in video games, and I can't and outside of video games, like I don't like it one bit at all. Any form of it. So, but obviously there's tons of different types of people out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I think the easy answer is like, if anything ever offends you or you're not interested in it, or you think it's gone too far, don't play it. Vote with your wallet. Right. And the market will dictate what's acceptable and what's not, or what society finds acceptable. Grand Theft Auto for the longest time was considered just too much. Oh, you can pick up prostitutes, you can do this, you can do that, and now we're like Grand Theft Auto, whatever, right? And so I think that there will be a bit of a curve, a steep curve, where this kind of stuff comes around. We all go, God damn, this is realistic, and like, you know, maybe after we play it, we go, geez, this was a little too much, right? Like, at what point does your brain say, did we just kill somebody? Like this, because VR can be very immersive sometimes, and a game that looks this impressive, if it was played in VR, like, does your brain start to like rewire itself and start wondering if you've done something wrong? Like, and that's kind of a line we haven't crossed yet. And I'd be curious to see like what the science is behind that, and kind of like what the repercussions for entertainment becoming this realistic will ultimately end up being. And I don't think we'll know until we've done it. And at that point, it'll be too fucking late. There's no going back. So we're fucked, AJ. I don't know where we're going with this, but I have a feeling we're fucked. Yeah. Man, we got a bunch of tips to get caught up on. I hope you guys don't mind taking a quick little break here to give a shout out to Luke the Underground Gamecat, who's referring to Village, saying the €2. Nope, euros, saying the boat in Resident Evil Village is basically a tank on water. Yeah, it's the most easily maneuverable tank of all time.
I was going to say it's a little bit easier probably to maneuver than a tank.
Yeah.
It's like it's straight up just like on an axis where you could just go forward, backwards, left, and right, like with no issue.
And as someone who's a staunch defender of actual old school tank controls, bring it on. I'm the only one on the face of the planet who's like, yeah, man, Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 got it right.
No. There's a lot of things I like about those games. The tank controls are not one of them.
Andrew Bailey with the £2 says, my fingers are crossed for Firmament being good. Fingers are crossed. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Firmament should be, could be fucking epic. It should be epic. Josh Cat with the $10 tip says, my Manic Monday super chat. Do you like the Bengals, AJ?
Do I like the Bengals?
Just another Manic Monday. Oh.
I thought you were talking about the football team.
Football.
We have definitely two different backgrounds, you and I.
For reals. He says, I always think while playing flat games, I wish this was in VR, but alas, nothing happens. Patience seems to be the only thing to do. Any suggestions on what to do? I think we've been pretty clear. If there's a game that you think would be great in VR, let the developers know. Tag them on Twitter, send them a DM, send them an email, do whatever you have to do. But I think the important thing is to like be respectful, right? And don't be. I'm getting real tired of hearing people go, man, these developers are so lazy. All it would take is 5 minutes of work to get this into VR. So as long as you do it respectfully, and just be like, hey, get the word out there that there are people interested in VR, and in any time that I can help. Obviously, we're not the biggest VR channel, far from it. But let me know that there's something you're trying to do or a game that you are trying to get into VR. There's a petition or whatever. Let me know. And the game hashtag Gamecat Army can maybe help that along a little bit. I'm sure that whatever game you want in VR, Josh, there's thousands, if not tens of thousands of people who also want that in VR.
I totally agree, man. It's, if anything, the recent news with like Firewall Ultra, kind of going, okay, we've heard you. We're going to add manual reloading and a more like intense hardcore mode. That is, definitely a sign that being vocal about things can make a difference. But not only just being vocal, but having the numbers behind it too. Definitely having lots of numbers. And so, yeah, whenever you think something about a game or whatever, I can't encourage you enough to be vocal about it, because and get more people, find more people that agree with you to be vocal about it as well, because otherwise sometimes like developers just don't know these things or don't think these things until there's everybody against them and they're like, okay, I guess we're wrong on this one.
I've got to ask, AJ, do you really think that people being vocal about the button reload mention on the PlayStation blog, do you really think that's 100%. What caused, you think that caused First Contact to create the Ultra mode
Yes, it's not even coming at launch. It wasn't even planned at first until
How do you know it wasn't planned?
Because literally First Contact Entertainment was in this chat while doing Gamescast Live saying we don't know at this time, but you never know. Never say never.
Right.
And then literally a few days later, it's Hess Barber saying, yes, we are going to do this. We're going to do it as a an update later with a new mode for people that want to do that.
Right.
That's 100% what happened there.
So I mean, since Sony doesn't fucking like us anyway, I might as well tell you guys what working with Sony is like, and it's not pretty, right? We've talked to so many developers over the years that say, Sony has full control over the marketing. And when I look at something like Firewall Ultra, that is clearly a sequel, and it's not called Firewall 2, I fucking guarantee you that's Sony's doing. When I hear something that these features are not available at launch, Sony's trying to. This is on Sony. Right? They're saying if it's not available at launch, we can't talk about it. Right? This is I fucking guarantee you this is how it's going down, because I've talked to so many developers over the years, and they're frustrated, right? And without knowing anything specifically about this, I would 100% guarantee that this has been in the works, and they just wanted to like meet a deadline, and then bring the Ultra mode later. So it's different. If First Contact was releasing this on their own and it wasn't a Sony IP and it wasn't being published by Sony, it would be a different story altogether. But Sony has far too much control over this. So
I don't know.
That's my take.
I've never heard of Sony having control over anything other than marketing. But obviously, them coming out and being able to say that. It's like, what did it just like get to the point where he couldn't take it anymore and they had to say something, or I don't think I don't know. The game's not even like, it doesn't even have a release date yet. So
right. Well, not I mean, internally it does.
Yeah, but I just feel like I expect a lot of post-launch content for this game, but that just seems like something that is definitely, I get not leading with, hey, we're launching this game, but then we're going to have this mode later. I get that that's not a great look, but at the same time, this just doesn't strike me as like this was planned to happen this way.
Are you worried about Firewall Ultra, AJ?
I'm not necessarily worried about it. I am a little bit, but I'm also really excited about it because there is a large, casual audience, I shouldn't say casual, just a large audience that is looking forward to playing this game. And I think that this game has tons of stuff that looks like it is going to offer. That being said, there's a couple design decisions with Firewall Ultra that are a little bit of a head scratcher for me. Things like not having manual reloading, or having when we first saw the weapon wheel to choose the gun for Firewall, everybody was like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" And I'm like, well, I mean, that's kind of like immersion breaking to me in design, like intentionally designed this way. And it's like it's just like I figured by now there would be this standard of being able to, to me it's like how I described my excitement for Resident Evil Village and for Saints and Sinners. It's like, no, I love grabbing all these things from my body for inventory, and I love manual reloading. It's just something I feel that has become a standard for VR. And for them to not have some of these things, but then have other things like being able to close your eyes and block your eyes, it's like, yeah, that stuff is cool. But why did you leave the core gameplay element out of it? So I wouldn't say I'm worried about it, but I am a little frustrated with some of the decisions made in the game. But
I don't think you're alone.
But I'm also still I can be critical and still be very excited about something, be excited to play something. I can't really judge this until I play it. those are things I would definitely, I'm already, before it even releases, I'm already going to be pretty critical about for sure.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, I'm not worried really at all. And so when you said you were worried, I was like, I definitely want to hear a little bit more from another perspective. I have complete faith in Firewall Ultra. And I think everyone's right at this point. If you're being critical of their decisions, if you're being wary of like pre-ordering or anything else, like, yeah, you have every right to be, right? Switchback didn't pan out. Right? Firewall Ultra, First Contact wasn't telling us the things we needed to hear until very recently. And then even now, it's like, well, that would have been nice at launch. So I think everybody has an absolute right to be critical and be wary, but also just keep an open mind, because things may not be as you think they are.
Well, and they've also given me something to look forward to after launch, which is they've come out and said, hey, we're going to have this mode with no aim assist, with manual reloading and all this stuff. So yeah, it's like problem solved for me. Like, right. maybe I won't, maybe there'll be little things here and there I don't like at launch, but they've clearly stated that this is on their roadmap now, that this is something they're going to plan. And we know Firewall or First Contact is excellent at providing post-launch support. So I'm not worried about it, because I think once I get this mode and everything, and as long as everything else is, at least acceptable, then I'll feel pretty good about it. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I agree on the things I agree with you, and I disagree with you on the things that I disagree with you on. Boy, that was the most pointless statement anyone's ever made, huh? All right, a couple more tips here, and then we'll move on to our main topic. We got SB in the chat with the £5 saying Andrew Bailey knows what's up. I had to scroll back and see what the fuck Andrew Bailey was talking about. Andrew was like talking about Firmament, and hopes that Firmament is fucking awesome.
Andrew Bailey, yeah. One thing we missed, Brian, last time we did our last Gamescast was that email they sent us had a lot more info in it, with some really nice sounding features. I don't know if you went back and saw this, but I covered it on Interactive Chat, and I was like, "Oh shit, we totally missed this." But there's
AJ, nice... we have a lot of things to talk about here on Gamescast, and we can't spend all that time on all these things. and so yeah, I definitely read all the PR emails that I get, and it seems great. I'm very excited for this, and we'll spend a lot more time on Firmament as we get closer to launch. Looper, that was me saying we got to fucking move on. Looper the Underground Gamecat with the €5 says, my first have I just killed moment was an RE7 when Mia turned back to normal for the first time. It was disturbing, man. I thought that was a really well done sequence. I think the cutscenes in Resident Evil 7 were better than Village, and I think they were more impactful than Village, outside of a few key ones in Village I thought were excellent. And that was a big one for me. It was like, really, it hits you in a weird place. And I think Looper nails it on the head, to be honest with you. So. All right. So dude, the topic of the show is, what the hell? Every single episode, I'm like, dude, Sony has over 20 first-party studios. What the hell are they all working on, right? And so when it came to figure out a topic for today's show, I messaged AJ and I was like, maybe we should talk about this. And then I Googled, I just wanted to get a list of Sony's first-party studios, and what I ended up finding, it came up very quickly in my search, was a Push Square article. It says PlayStation Studios, all Sony first-party developers, and what they're working on. So as everybody I know says, work smarter, not harder. So thank you, Push Square, for doing all your hard work today, or all of our hard work today, and making our lives far more easy. We don't need to spend a ton of time on each studio. Sorry, more sirens on my end. The last thing I want to do is get into the weeds and talk about a lot of flat screen games and whatever else. But I do want to find out with each of these studios if there's a potential that they're working on a PSVR2 exclusive game, or if whatever they're working on for the flat screen could potentially be hybrid.
I think it's really important to mention that when it comes to Sony first party stuff, if it doesn't have PSVR2 support, like, I really don't care. Like they make great games and everything. But my general interest in this conversation, especially, I'm really just interested in what potentially could come to VR and what I think might and what I think might not.
Yeah.
And just try to, obviously this is 95% speculation, but I think we have a lot of good reasoning and facts and information to go behind some of our theories.
Right. And I think this is an important episode to do today, because I don't know if anybody saw Ian Higton's video on Eurogamer yesterday, where it was like 98 or 97 or 93. I forget. Bad at counting, dude. Agent 49. I forget what his name is. He had a video with like all of these PlayStation VR 2 titles that have been confirmed to be in the works, and I'll have my own version of that coming out after the show. To be honest, it's gonna be another sizzle reel, zip 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 zip. So if you like 5-minute videos rather than hour-long videos, I got you covered. But a lot of those are smaller games, right? It's like, sure, you can say, oh, look, there's like 100 games coming to PSVR 2, and most of those are coming like this year or like soon after, but most of these games are also indie games, right? Smaller games. And so I just want to I think it's important to not only look at this list of Sony first-party developers, but also keep in mind that Sony has relationships with third-party developers, AAA third-party developers, who they are obviously working with in order to get hybrid games out, right? I think a lot of people want these hybrid games. A lot of people want first-party AAA games, but people are not being patient enough, right? If anybody thought the virtual reality industry, the whole industry was going to change overnight when PSVR 2 launched, like, I'm sorry, right? That's just, there was no way that was ever going to happen, right? But it's going to gradually happen over the next few years, and we're going to see Sony leading the charge on this. It's hard to see that right now, right? Especially with Sony's silence. But as they talk more, and as we see a Sony showcase in more states of play, we're going to learn more and more about what everybody's working on. So be patient, because I think it's going to be a fucking epic few years. And when you see videos like Ian's or mine, I don't want your first reaction to be, wow, what a load of shit, what a load of indie games, what a bunch of ports, because there's so much more coming than what's been announced so far.
Definitely. Yeah, people have been quite conditioned to games being announced 10 years in advance and thinking that games are being released, confusing that with games being released constantly, when it's like, no, games are being announced constantly, but they're not being released or anything. And they don't always pan out. So yeah, this is, and then also they expect, it's crazy, man. Like even above just VR games. I mean, people just expect a AAA first party game every single month. And it is just like people's expectations are just crazy, like so unrealistic at times. It's like it just like hurts my brain when I see I'm just like, oh my God, you are so clueless about like you know what, like how much work and stuff goes in, and time and you know, all the stuff that goes into creating game development or into game development and creating games and stuff. And it's just like, just be a little bit more patient and understanding. And but you know, it's the internet. 50% of everybody's just going to be totally unreasonable and crazy. But
well, and I think it's also important to note that, like, say Sony has, like, I don't know, 10, and this is just, I'm obviously just throwing a random number out there, 10 PSVR 2 games in the works, right? Or they've got deals with Capcom to bring Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 4 over, or Half-Life Alyx, right? Where Sony has to pay millions and millions of dollars for each of these titles to come over to PSVR 2. They have to pay these studios to convince them to say, hey, we're going to pay you for your time because you're bringing it over to our platform. Like, please do this for us. Here's this shit ton of money. Do you think that Sony's going to drop 10 of those games all at launch? No, because they're just going to cannibalize their own sales. They want to dole these out one by one by one by one so that people will buy each and every one of them. And
yeah, definitely not a sustainable model. I mean, the closest you get to that kind of like level of output is near the end of a generation, right?
Yeah.
And I think that throws people off a little bit too. Towards the end of the generation, you get, it's like where all the final biggest, best projects, you know, where developers have had the most time to take advantage of the hardware to learn about it, you know, last year or whatever, or a couple last years, it was like Ghost of Tsushima and Final Fantasy VII Remake and God of War and like all these things that came out. And they actually had a really, really strong launch to I feel like with when you really compare with PSVR2, like having 3 AAA games at launch is pretty damn good, and then having a lot of other good games as well was pretty awesome.
Right. And I think we've been clear that hybrid games are definitely what is going to be the motto this generation, because it doesn't make sense financially to kind of do anything else in VR. Take amazing flat screen games and then get a VR port of them, make them VR AF as much as you possibly can, and then release them. That's going to be the best business model for VR, at least for this generation, and possibly even next, depending on the adoption rate. But AJ, that's a whole nother story.
So studios, Brian.
Yeah,
studios.
Okay, so dude, again, if you're interested in this article or watching the video that Push Square has made regarding this, the link is in the description of this video. Tell them we sent you. So they kick it off and talk about Polyphony Digital. Current projects being Gran Turismo 7, that's out now for PS5 and PS4, and Polyphony will be providing post-launch support for the game for the foreseeable future. AJ, is there anything outside of Gran Turismo that you expect to see from Polyphony, or do you think this is going to kind of be their beat for the next few years? It's just updating and bringing us more content for GT7?
Well, I think that's going to be it, but I hope that's all that it is, because I think that's a great thing to have if we continue to get updates for Gran Turismo 7, more cars, more tracks, maybe additional modes and stuff. Give it to me. They already gave us the full game in VR, and I will gladly take more content with that over the next few years. Yeah.
And guys, if you have, obviously, AJ and I are sitting up here, but we are absolutely looking at the chat and keeping an eye. So if you guys have any suggestions, or if you think that there's anything that we're missing that these developers could be working on, by all means, like, fucking scream it in the chat, because we want to hear it. There's definitely going to be things that we miss. So we'll be keeping an eye on you.
Yeah.
So, there's other things that Polyphony have worked on through the years that I'm like, man, I wish they'd bring back. Like, they had a motorcycle racing game, and they had a space shooter, and like, there's just no fucking chance we'll ever see anything but Gran Turismo from them ever again. Did you never play Omega Boost, AJ?
Oh, Polyphony made Omega Boost?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Is that the one I'm thinking of?
I mean, it wasn't amazing, but
I was gonna say, if that's the one I'm thinking of, it was not amazing.
But it was fun. I played it. I liked it. Yeah.
GT7, man.
Okay.
Stick to GT7.
Next up, Team Asobi. Current projects, Team Asobi staffing up for a quote 3. This is what I love about this article, is that they've really done their research. They've been keeping an eye on job listings. Hell yeah. What is that? Oh, is that the Nendroid?
It's gonna happen, man. It is gonna happen. Listen, mark my words right now. Asobi are working on another Astrobot game.
Okay, but here's the question. Astrobot used to be the mascot, or could very well still be eventually the mascot for PSVR2. It's the mascot for PSVR1 for sure, right? Adorable little robot dude. Do you think he sort of has made his way onto the flat screen, and now the flat screeners are in love with him? Do you think that whatever Team Asobi's doing is going to be a hybrid? Or do you think it's going to be? Do you think they have multiple projects in the works? Because there's no way they can just bring them straight back to VR and not show the flat screen any love.
Yeah, I think either a hybrid or multiple projects in the works. But I 100% believe that they are making another project that will be VR compatible. Because it's, Astrobot is like really underutilized. Like, if I was Sony, I'd be milking the shit out of Astrobot. Yeah. I'd be making, Astrobot VR. I'd be making Astro Kart. I'd be making Astro Party VR, if you see where I'm going with this. Mm-hmm. Astro World, Astro Galaxy, Astrobot movie. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, I'd be milking the hell out of this. They have, they're sitting on a gold mine with Astrobot, and they really need to take more advantage of it. And I think they're at least making another game, to say the very least.
Yeah, Pixel Cult Media in the chat says, how did Asobi miss that release window? I think very intentionally. I think that launch window was a fucking disaster. Like, I mean, I think everybody raced to get their game out for launch, and then some games just got fucking buried, right? And so why bother, right? Sony had bangers at launch, like 3 really big games. Like, why race to further complicate the problem of too many launch games? I think it very intentionally was not there at launch. Jared in the chat says, was Astrobot on PSVR that good? AJ?
Yes,
Yeah.
It's a 10 out of 10. It's the greatest,
So good.
one of the greatest platformers of all time. I play a lot of platformers, and it destroys most of them. Astrobot is basically the Mario of PlayStation. Yes, it's that good and that important, and amazing.
Satrubia in the chat says, now release window's a disaster. Only for developers. As gamers, we've had a blast, man, and we got everything we wanted and more. For developers, I'm glad that some games really shined, and Kayak and Pavlov got the sales they deserved, but I guarantee you that some smaller games got buried in that. But yeah, for us it was great. For developers, it's probably a disaster. Andrew Bailey with the 2 quid says, I wish GT7 rolling starts and pit stops were in VR. Oh yeah, I gotcha. So it's not just a quick change to VR. You're just in VR the whole time. I'd have to agree with that. Moving on, AJ. This is Firesprite.
Why don't I lead with this one? Okay. So the next one we have is Firesprite,
No way.
our good friends over there who made the Persistence. They made Horizon Call of the Mountain, and they are working on a story driven horror. I don't know why that was so hard to say. And a multiplayer action game is what they have confirmed via, I'm guessing these were job listings.
Okay. Here's my hope. My hope is that the dark story-driven horror game is the Persistence 2, and that to promote it, we will get a PSVR2 remaster of the PSVR 1 classic, the Persistence 1, right? And then the multiplayer action game can be Twisted Metal.
Yeah, man, that's the dream.
I mean, I'm asking a lot here, but I feel like both of these could be hybrids, no problem whatsoever. The Persistence proved it could be playable on the flat screen and also in VR. And then Twisted Metal, how could you not have a driving combat game be a hybrid game? I know I'm being too optimistic here, and I'm gonna be wrong about at least one of these, if not both. But that's, if I had to guess, those would be my guesses.
Well, I think that would be the smart thing to do at the very least. I mean, without knowing what these projects are, assuming maybe they don't exist or knowing what they are, I think that would be the smartest thing to do would be to bring the Persistence back. I get a little bit worried about Firesprite now. You know, with Call of the Mountain and stuff, and I was like, you know, I was certain that they were going to get every single thing right with it because the Persistence was so good, but I think they have a little bit of a gameplay problem, like game design, gameplay problem. The Persistence was incredible. It was amazing. It was the best thing I've played since like System Shock 2 in terms of like sci-fi, horror, adventure, whatever. And it was also a roguelike game. But it was designed around a DualShock, and then you look at Call of the Mountain with the way that they did the combat system and things. I'm like, they really need some help with their gameplay design. I feel like, but I'm going on a tangent here and just ranting. I'm realizing, but yeah, I would 100% I would kill for a Persistence remaster with, you know, some physics, some good two-handed gameplay, and then dude, the dream of all dreams would be Twisted Metal. But looking at what they did with Call of the Mountain, I'm like, they didn't even give you full locomotion combat, like, and that makes me worried about the potential of them making a Twisted Metal VR game.
Actually, Matthew Longo in the chat says something interesting. He says car games and FPS games, I would assume, are the easiest to make hybrid, and I would agree with that. I think that, you know, for the most part, if what you're doing mostly in first-person shooters is shooting, and obviously if you're in the car for the entire game in Twisted Metal, like these are these are kind of the easier ones to bring over. So I think that, again, we've seen the problem with built from the ground up for VR games. And I think that we sort of saw some of the problems that Horizon brought being a built from the ground up for VR game. Now, if these are hybrid games, I think we get a little bit looser with some of the design decisions, and we get more of the things that we want, I think.
But would it be a DualShock game?
Fuck no.
If it was Twisted Metal?
Oh, I mean,
sure.
I mean, it could be a DualSense game, but obviously they should support the wheel and one sense controller, just like I want in every kart racing game, because I want one hand on the wheel racing around, AJ, right? And then the other hand, I want flipping switches and pulling levers in my like fucking sweet tooth candy ice cream truck, and like pulling levers that fire missiles and switching things on the dashboard. Or you can just fucking play with a DualSense if you're boring.
As much as it pains me to say, I think my expectations and my hopes for Firesprite have been lowered a little bit.
Okay.
And I just don't want to set myself up for disappointment with them again. But dude, again, like
you've been around for a while, man. That's what we do. We set ourselves up for disappointment constantly around here. This is what we do.
But I do see, I mean, like right off the bat, without even like thinking too much about it, just the potential of a Twisted Metal VR game, and things like using eye tracking for aiming your machine gun turrets, or using a special turret that is aimed with eye tracking and stuff. And oh my God, it would be incredible to actually have that done. And man, I would really love to see that. I don't know. I don't know how much the biggest hope that I have for that is that they have a TV show with it right now, which tells me they're like, they are investing in Twisted Metal to some degree. Right. But it wouldn't be if you asked me without that TV show being there, if you asked me if there was any chance of like Twisted Metal returning, I'd be like, fuck no.
No, absolutely not. Also, I remember, is it fuck. I could be Firesprite. I got to bring this up just so I can see what it says on the screen. Wasn't there a rumor recently that Firesprite is working on making Star Citizen a PlayStation 5 game? The Chris Roberts game that's been like a decade in development with billions of dollars in funding. You know the game I'm talking about, the old Wing Commander guy? I feel like there was a rumor about Firesprite bringing Star Citizen over to PlayStation. So that's my other guess on that. And if they could make that a VR game, Jesus, sorry, No Man's Sky. That's what I'll be playing. Okay, we got Looper the Underground Gamecat with the €5 says Firesprite obviously should help Naughty Dog make Uncharted VR. AJ, I have a problem with the statement. I love you, Looper, but I have a problem with the statement. I feel like we kind of got Uncharted in VR but with Call of the Mountain. I don't think they could release two first-party Sony games on PSVR2 in a row or even close to each other with that much climbing. Uncharted has a lot of shooting and a lot of climbing. And those are the two major things I remember doing in Uncharted 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if Horizon didn't have so much climbing in it, then I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I feel like it would just be it was like, wow, is Sony only going to release climbing games on PSVR 2? That's what people would start saying.
Not going to work.
Yeah. Mark Pringlesleaf with the £2 says, I'm calling it Astrobot out for Christmas. He makes an excellent point, AJ. He says, Astrobot out for Christmas, that'll be a big push for Sony. That's when you'll want like new first-party games, and especially games like Astrobot that appeal to like the whole family.
I don't care. Just give it to me. I don't care when I get it, how I get it. Just give me more Astrobot.
And then Emily Baxter, hashtag Cartoony Witch Game Kitten with the $2 says, I'm calling it AstroGlide out for Valentine's. Everybody stock up. It's coming. Next up, Guerrilla Games. Guerrilla Games, the current projects, we're going to go right here. Recently finished work on Horizon Call of the Mountain in collaboration with Firesprite Games. It also recently mentioned a Horizon online co-op game and a mobile spin-off that's also in the works. A Horizon online game, AJ, has been talked about quite a bit recently. I know that Kind of Funny headlines with that today. They're still showing up in my feed. It's crazy. Do you think it'll be an MMO, a Horizon MMO?
I have no idea, but without VR, I have no interest.
Same. But how cool would a first-party MMO be? Like, yeah, we love Zenith, and we're very curious about Elysia and Elysium, and like, what are these games bringing to the table? But like a AAA first-party MMO set in the Horizon universe, dude. If you give me VR support for that, say goodbye. I'm moving in.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they released they released Call of the Mountain, and that was that was also Firesprite. Obviously Guerrilla did work on it as well, but that was, I think, mostly Firesprite. So I don't really see them heavily investing in a lot more VR stuff. But I'm hoping for maybe just like some random surprises here and there.
Yeah.
If the game came out and was like 10 out of 10 and was like the best thing we ever played and everybody's raving about it, maybe, but that wasn't the case. It came out and it was solid, but I don't think I think their standards for what they want to achieve is more than just solid.
Yeah. Hybrid games, AJ. Hybrid games. Big MMO, VR support. I saw Matthew Longo's talk about multiple people taking down huge dinos. Oh, God, that'd be amazing. That would be amazing.
I do agree with Matthew Longo saying like Killzone. Killzone would be such a great fit for VR.
Oh, yeah. Dude, Killzone, Resistance, Infamous, all these games that have just fucking died out over the last... Dude, Sony has the one of the greatest stables of IPs on the face of the planet, and all of them are just kind of like rotting away, right? They're just not taking advantage of all these things that were popular in the PS2 and PS3 era, and even some on the PS4. They're just kind of slowly fading into obscurity. Although I guess we could say that about Konami and a bunch of other studios as well.
Yeah.
Housemarque. AJ, talk to me about Housemarque.
Give me Returnal in VR. That is all.
Yeah, following Returnal, Housemarque is currently staffing up for its next game. It's unknown if this will be a sequel or a brand new IP, though it should be noted the studio rarely makes sequels. No idea what they're doing. I will say that all of their previous games, all of their shooters, was it Dead Land? No, Dead something. And dude, Alienation and Resogun and Superstar, all these games would be great in VR, right? And I know that Returnal was one of their bigger ones, right? They like tried to step it up and make something a little bit different, and staying true to their roots. I would take any of them. Like if they decide to make a smaller game next time, I want that in VR as well. Big time.
I would take any crazy bullet hell shooter by Housemarque in VR. What I will say is that somebody that I know that I talked to is aware of some things going on there. They didn't say whether it was VR or not, but they said the next thing Housemarque is working on is like absolutely mind-blowing, whatever it is. So nice. Don't know if it's VR or not, but they said whatever it was that they were working on, they said like it is going to blow people away. So really excited about that. My hope is that, that I would love to see like White Moon Dreams, because we know they worked on the actual Returnal game and then they worked on a lot of VR stuff. Yep. My hope is that White Moon Dreams is doing something with Returnal in VR like that. That would be, because that game was just phenomenal. One of my favorites on PS5, but again, dude, need it in VR.
White Moon Dreams, like one of the most talented, most underrated studios out there. Like they didn't get a splash page or anything on the Saints and Sinners port or the Saints and Sinners port for PSVR2 or the Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 port for PSVR2. They definitely deserved a splash screen. They fucking killed it, dude. Dead Nation. Thank you guys. Matthew Longo and everybody else in the chat is smarter than me. Dead Nation was so much fun. I played the crap
Dead Nation,
out of Vita.
Next Machina.
Mm-hmm.
I like those a lot more than and that and Returnal. I like those a lot more than Resogun. I know a lot of people love Resogun though.
I liked Resogun a lot, but I was terrible at it. I probably have 20 hours in that game, and I'm just like, I've seen the first 3 levels. It's like I'm really bad at it.
I probably have 20 minutes in that game.
Oh, it was free on PlayStation Plus at the launch of PS4. Yeah, I don't care. Okay, next up is London Studio. Current projects. London Studio's next game is I was gonna. I can't pronounce shit, AJ. I was gonna say London Studio's next game is a mystery. I thought it was gonna say mysterious something, and it's like Let's start it off.
The mystery. Ooh.
Is a mystery right now, but job listings do give us a vague idea of what to expect. Several openings mention an upcoming PlayStation 5 online game, which will be a brand new IP. It seems that this will be a live service multiplayer title. One job listing describes it as an online co-op combat game set in modern fantasy London. What the hell is...
I think we saw like a concept art or something of this, I believe. I don't know if that was real or not. I don't at this point I'm very like you gotta keep your skeptic edge on, because like you just never know, or your skeptic shield up, because you just never know what is actually real that you're being told is real on the internet. But if I recall, this was an actual thing that was teased. Like,
yeah, it definitely it is. The images of like dragons and sorcerers and stuff, and it's modern day London. But yeah, it's when they say fantasy, they are not kidding.
Yeah, London Studio has always been kind of at the forefront of like something VR related. So I don't know if they're going to release like their own direct project, but I know at the very least they probably have people scattered about working on various things VR related. But I don't know if it's going to be this or not.
Yeah. Dude, the number of live service games that Sony wants to make happen is a little bit crazy. I think they have like 5 in the works, and so it'll be interesting to see which ones prevail and which ones just kind of fall by the wayside. These are going to be projects that hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent on that are just not going to have any chance of surviving. Right, but they look at something like Fortnite that rakes in like fucking billions of dollars a month, and they say all we need is for one of them to do that well. Right, I guarantee you this is the business model. They just want one of them to do that well, and they're like, it doesn't matter if the other 4 fail, as long as one of them does, we'll recoup our losses overnight.
Next we have Media Molecule. Brian.
Oh, poor Media Molecule.
Yeah, things aren't looking too great over there, at least from the Dreams perspective. Obviously they've ended future support for Dreams, not what's currently there, but they've ended future support for that. I can't remember the lead guy's name, but why can't I remember his name? I always remember his name.
I don't know his name.
David, I think David something, but he officially announced his departure, and he was like, the head of the project. But they're going to be working on something, some kind of probably going back to more of a smaller artsy project. I don't see VR playing a huge role in this, but
I mean, they've got VR experience now, right? Like they kind of. I mean,
it sounded like they got some people to come do the VR stuff, and then they got rid of those people. And those people, to be honest with you, didn't even implement it the best it could have been. Yes, they did get the headset portion of everything. They did a pretty great job, but the controllers and the Move controller, granted, Move controllers are not the easiest thing,
right?
As proven.
We're in a much different situation now. I feel like if they kind of have a basic understanding of like, and I think it was done well, man. It's like one of those games where like, there it is, you're playing it on the flat screen, you turn on your PlayStation PSVR 1 headset, you throw it on, and then suddenly, boom, there you are. You're in VR. It was drop in, drop out VR, and it was. I thought it was done really well. And yes, they tried to like kind of shoehorn, the VR stuff in after the fact, try to get the Move support in, all of that stuff, and it was messy, right? But I think with kind of building something like, I don't know if they do another Tearaway or another Little Big Planet style game, something that's like a lot more manageable, that isn't going to be like an 8-year dev cycle. I think that they could definitely add VR support to it. I just hope that they don't kind of give up on the whole user created content thing, because they've been so good at that. But I wouldn't mind seeing another Tearaway from them, a Tearaway style game, because it was adorable and I loved that game on the Vita and PS4. Yeah.
Next, we have Nixxes, which is, of course, I think that's more of the studio that's just for porting PC stuff.
Yep.
So
moving along.
Not expecting much there. Savage Game, I have no idea what that is or who that is.
Savage Game Studios comprises a pair of development teams committed to producing high-quality action games for mobile. Sony acquired the studio in 2022 as part of its new PlayStation Studios mobile division. Moving on.
Moving on to XDev, Sony XDev Studio, Brian.
This is one of those studios that kind of has their hands in everything. Like 90% of PlayStation games that you buy have like an XDev splash screen at the start of the game. It's like they have their hands in everything. They're very much a support studio. I don't know off the top of my head the games that they've developed on their own from start to finish. But it does say located in the same office as the now defunct Liverpool studio, XDev works with external developers across the globe on PlayStation published projects. Perfect. And they say current project is XDev is currently working with third parties on games like Rise of the Ronin and Stellar Blade. So even though they might have their hands in some VR stuff, these aren't the guys who will likely deliver, first party VR content. You'll see their name slapped on a bunch of things, but not directly from them. So I think we can probably move on.
I disagree, Brian. There is one game that they are going to deliver unto us.
Okay.
And that is, unless I'm thinking of the wrong studio, but that is going to be the next Wipeout game. It's XDev, right? Or is that is Sony XDev Europe different than XDev? Aren't they the same? Is that a division of XDev?
Give me one second
still
here.
Counts as XDev. Dude, how could they not? So we had, back in the day, there was a lot of, a couple rumors and leaks, and one of them was Horizon, which, ended up being true. The other one was Wipeout. And I think Wipeout is just a series that it has to continue on VR. It was one of the best PSVR games out there. They're incredible developers. They really understand fun gameplay and game design. And not to mention, it was absolutely stunning in the headset. Again, this is like Wipeout Omega Collection either needs to be remastered for PSVR2 or they need to make a new one and bring it to VR.
Yeah, and there is a rumor going around that there is a new Wipeout game in development. That is a hybrid game. And so, if I just tried to look it up, man. Yes, Psygnosis was the one who developed this game originally. Psygnosis no longer exists. I don't actually know who the core team is anymore. But if XDev had all this, had anything to do with the port process, bringing it over to VR or whatever. And again, I'm being purely speculative here because my brain is failing me. Then hey, wouldn't you trust these guys to be hey, you've got some good experience with Wipeout. Build us one from the ground up. Let's do this shit. And yeah. I mean,
easy, no brainer. I mean, people still talk about, how great Wipeout is to this day in VR.
Yeah.
So how has to happen? What about Brian Bend Studio? Your buddies over there that made that zombie game you really like.
Yeah, don't call them my buddies. They are not my buddies. I don't know anyone at Bend Studio, thankfully. I love this. It says infamously created Bubsy 3D for PlayStation 1 before moving on to Siphon Filter. Boy, rags to riches story, huh? Jesus Christ.
Rags to casual attire. I don't know.
But I mean, dude.
I love Siphon Filter. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't love Siphon Filter. It's always kind of a poor man's Metal Gear Solid. More action focused.
It was different. Yeah, it was not a stealth game,
right?
Really.
Yeah, but it wanted to be. It wanted to be.
Solid. I think it's completely different. If anything, I think it's more actiony, or I think it's more almost like a James Bond, like an American James Bond kind of thing.
I'll give you that. I think it just kind of came out at the same time, and there was the same type of weapon selections and that kind of stuff. So I don't know if they tried to market it that way or if people just assumed it was a Metal Gear Solid imitation. But
I used to love the way that he used to run. It would always
it looked like he had shit in his pants. It looked terrible. It was a terrible run cycle.
The games were pretty fun though.
Yeah, Gamecat Chicago, the $5 tip says nothing. But if you screwed that up, just leave a comment and we'll try to make sure it gets said.
Gamecat Chicago.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, last I heard with this game or this studio, I don't know. There was some falling out. It sounded like there was some falling out between some people and some people behind the Days Gone and stuff. And yeah, it sounds like I don't know. I kind of missed some of that stuff because I don't really wasn't paying too much attention these days outside.
There's
of VR
no reason to pay
part.
attention. It was like the I think the fallout came from like an old game director who wasn't at the studio anymore and was basically bitching about about
people buying the game or something,
complaining about the reasons the game didn't get reviewed well, right? And he basically blamed everybody except for himself. And I played the game, man. And as much as I love Days Gone, the game has fucking problems, dude. I played a fucking refined version of the game. I played like a patch 6 years later, right? Yeah. Right, and it still had problems. It was great. It was great, but it still had problems. And so, yeah, I don't. Let's see. We're covering projects. All that's known right now is that Ben is making a new open world game, and it won't be a Days Gone sequel.
Okay,
it's fine. You know what? And
I hope it gets VR support.
The one thing I'll say is that I do hear a lot of complaints that how come every PSVR2 game is a zombie game, right? And it's like we do have a lot of zombie games. Not gonna lie, right? And a lot more zombie games coming down the road. And so if they've got something else in mind, that could potentially work in VR. I think something that's a little bit new. As much as I love zombie games, something that's a little bit new and a little bit different would definitely be appreciated.
Next, we have Blue Point Games, which Sony acquired within the last few years. They are mostly known for the ones that remade Shadow of the Colossus. They did a fantastic job with that. They remade Demon Souls, I believe, and did a fantastic job with that. Well, Brian, did you know that last Christmas
Give you my heart? Sorry.
Gave us a little tease.
Gave it away.
Stop singing. They gave us a little tease, and they showed a Shadow of the Colossus. They showed a Demon Souls thing, and then there was a little gifted present right here. Now, the rumors behind this one are pretty wild as to what this could be, and some have said, even gone to have said, like it could be a Metal Gear Solid remaster remake. With VR support. That's like a VR support hybrid. That would be like the number one greatest thing that could ever happen in the universe. Yeah. But I don't think I am that as optimistic as I am. And I don't think I'm that optimistic.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see lots of old games remastered. I'd love to see lots of old games brought into VR by these guys. I don't know like what kind of VR knowledge they have or exactly like if it's something they'd be interested in doing. But it says, this article at least says, despite a history of excellent remakes and remasters, Blue Point is currently working on an original game. Whether that turns out to be a whole new IP or a sequel to something more established is yet to be seen. I mean, it's kind of cool that Sony's been like, hey, you guys have done great jobs doing like making other people's games look new again. But I can only assume that that's tiring at a certain point, right? Like game developers are creative people, and to just be working on somebody else's art all the time, that's good. I can only assume that leads to some burnout and like dissatisfaction with your job, and like, man, let me spread my wings and fly and show you what I can do. And it seems, and if this is what's happening and Sony's letting them do that, then I'm fucking all the power to them.
So it's an original IP. All right.
Yeah. Who knows?
Next we have
AJ. We should point out. I know we're making some good time here, but we could probably make better time. We should probably point out that a lot of these studios have grown significantly since either being acquired by Sony or even prior to that, or just over the last few years. Like Jesus Christ, dude, my brain just stopped. Firesprite is like 4 times bigger than they were when they were working on the Persistence originally. Like they are a massive studio now. So a lot of these studios could have more than one game in the works. So just keep that in mind. That's all.
Yeah.
Moving on.
For sure. And we have the brand new, I think this is the newest addition to PlayStation First Party Studio, the 20th edition. That is Firewalk Studio.
Yeah. Fairly young development studio, but among its staff are some real industry veterans. Some of its staff previously worked with the likes of Bungie, Respawn, Raven, and more.
That's some pretty top tier peoples.
Firewalk Studios is currently developing an online multiplayer game, which will be a new IP. That is all we know for now.
Seems like a smart get.
Do you have any idea? I don't mean to put you on the spot, AJ, but I'm going to. Do you have any idea what Raven Software has made prior to this? Because we know what Bungie and Respawn have made. It's a lot of first-person shooter stuff. So, like
Raven, I know the game once you say it, because I know I've heard that name a whole bunch. But off the top of my head, without looking it up, no, I can't think of it just off the top of my head.
Well, I will say that when when this whole Activision deal happening and the potential of losing Call of Duty and whether it be 5 years or 10 years or whatever the hell ends up happening, the only smart bet that Sony can make is to make their own Call of Duty, make your competitor to it now, right? And so by the time Call of Duty either people lose interest in Call of Duty, or by the time Call of Duty becomes an Xbox exclusive, dude, have your own ready. And it seems like Firewalk could be the team to do that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they were acquired for. They're obviously going to be making some first-person shooter, probably multiplayer game, and maybe it'll be another one of those live services. Like you said, they got to get something to compensate for the loss of Call of Duty. So why not get a bunch of experienced first-person shooter devs?
Yeah. Corky the Gamecat
with Titanfall says Robert Lawrence, dude. Titanfall 2. Now that's something I would love to see, or just that IP in VR would
oh, absolutely
amazing.
Yep. Corky the Gamecat with the $5 tip says pizza dough, DOUGH. Oh wait,
thank you for the pizza.
That's how all dough is spelled.
We've also got another interesting one called Haven, which was
Jade Raymond Studio.
Yes, that is correct. Who obviously is well known for Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs series. And this is, I think, a new Canadian studio that has popped up. And we've heard some rumors that they might have some VR stuff. We actually, before the announcement, we had heard that a Canadian studio that was working on a VR game had been acquired. And then the next day or something like that, next week, they were acquired and they were a Canadian studio. The only problem is that, the person that said that is usually always wrong about everything. No. So they got part of it right. So we'll have to wait and see if the rest of it is right. So that's the closest I could link you to some VR stuff here.
Yeah. My concern is that you have a brand new studio led by Jade Raymond, right? Who's used to making these massive open world games, right? And you've got to wonder if being okay, Jade, open your new studio. How many employees do you need? Hundreds, right? It's I think everybody would assume that this is going to be an Assassin's Creed or Watch Dogs style game, but there's just no way. There's just no way. They've got to build that studio slowly, or it's just going to be mass chaos, right? They've got to be okay, let's make a small game, and then make a bigger game, and then make a bigger game. And as the team gels more and more and more, they're able to kind of put these things together. I mean, that's my thought on it, but this could very well be their next big AAA studio. And they're just sending all their best people there or hiring in mass. Anything's possible, but I mean, I would just be shocked if their first game was something massive, open world, that kind of thing.
It could be. But let me tell you something that's massive, Brian.
Yes.
Insomniac Games is a massive studio.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I think right now, of all the studios, I think all eyes are on Insomniac Games the most. First of all, they've been freaking crushing it. They've been releasing huge game after huge game over the past couple of years, top tier quality, really successful in sales wise, really successful reviews wise. So this is where it gets a little bit exciting, because they have two projects that are most notable at the moment. And that is, of course, Spider-Man 2 and a Wolverine game. I have a theory, Brian.
Oh,
I have a theory. You want to hear my theory?
By all means, AJ.
I have a theory that probably most of you have the same theory, and that is I think at least one of these games is going to have VR support. And while I used to feel very strongly about it being Spider-Man, I kind of feel like I'm kind of almost leaning more towards Wolverine now.
Okay. I have so many questions. Like, Wolverine makes more sense, right? Like, obviously, we all want to be Spider-Man. We all want to climb up walls and shit, and we all want to swing through the city like that. It just seems awesome, but I also think that that's going to make a lot of people sick. And I think that, as we've seen, Sony's very nervous about that. Wolverine makes a little bit more sense because he's a little more grounded, maybe a little bit of wall running, who knows? And then you've got your adamantium claws that could really use good the adaptive triggers and sense controller haptics to their fullest. I still think it's Spider-Man.
Well, here's the thing. Because of Spider-Man being so established in its design already, unless they really change it up, which I don't think they would do, I feel like the best case scenario here is that we get a Spider-Man spin-off. No pun intended. But I think it would be. I think Spider-Man is the ultimate game to do like a spin-off of, like some side story, some smaller. It could still be AAA quality, and like 5-10 hours or something, open world, swing around and stuff. I think Spider-Man makes the most sense for like some kind of spin-off title, similar to like what they did with Call of the Mountain. But I would hope for it, because if you just do Spider-Man 2, it's like, well, the first games weren't in VR. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. You'd have to redesign a bunch of stuff. I just say you use the assets, you create something new with Spider-Man. Or, we know nothing. All we know about this Wolverine game is that it is story driven. And so it can be built from the ground up with VR in mind, and could work pretty well and would be amazing with the haptics, with the controllers. Could be a really good story. It's a great fit. It seems like it would just naturally work better.
So this is, I mean, hopefully good news for hybrid games if this all ends up happening. Obviously there's been a lot of test subjects for Spider-Man. We've gotten a lot of crappy free games, Spider-Man games, although the last one was fun to swing around the city, even though there wasn't a lot to it. What's your hope with Insomniac bringing their own VR games that have happened over on other platforms? What's your like Edge of Nowhere? Shit, I forget the other ones.
Those
Stormland. Like, I mean, do you have hope that those will come over as well?
Yeah, it would be nice, but I would rather see them make something new, and I would 100% like to see them do like a either a Spider-Man, Wolverine, or just a new IP that they come up with for design for PlayStation VR 2.
Yeah, I've got to say that I really want those games over on PSVR 2, right? Because again, it's not going to take the whole team to port those games over. So I don't think it's an either or situation. I think you put a small team on bringing those games over from PC and over to PSVR 2. You get a good port going on. And then meanwhile, the main team is working on, and again, this Insomniac's huge. They have like 4 or 5 games in development simultaneously right now. And so they could absolutely be porting, their other games over to PSVR 2. I would love to find out who owns the rights to those. I assume it's Insomniac, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I'd take like a Ghost of Tsushima spinoff as well.
Is that
just all there?
Is that Sucker Punch?
Oh, Sucker Punch. Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun.
We're almost there, AJ. We're almost there.
Yeah. All right, man. But yeah, I really want to see Insomniac do something crazy with VR, and even. I want to see so much. Even some of their third-party games, like give it to me in VR. Another mega studio we have here is Naughty Dog, Brian.
Hell yeah. What do you? I mean, dude. Let's just read what they say here in the in the article because I've got so many thoughts about Naughty Dog right now. So let's hear what other people have to say first. Having recently released The Last of Us Part 1, the studio is working on a standalone multiplayer game set in The Last of Us universe. It's widely accepted that this will be built on The Last of Us 2's combat to bring a fleshed-out factions game to life. There are likely other projects in the works, potentially The Last of Us Part 3, or possibly a brand new IP. What do you think, man?
What I think is that they just need to take The Last of Us and put a first person in VR mode in it with minimal. They need to Resident Evil The Last of Us.
They do.
And it would be fantastic. You saw that first person mod, right? For The Last of Us that somebody did. Man,
I don't think so.
I just think this game is such a good fit for VR. It would take a little bit of work. It'd take a little bit of redesigning some things, but
yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
I feel like this game would just be incredible in VR.
I mean, it's a lot of gunplay, it's a lot of walking and talking, and it's and yeah, I mean, I don't think
or another spinoff.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be terribly difficult to bring to VR personally, and I think it would be amazing. I think that the Last of Us story, I think they really want to milk this thing, man. Like they've now released The Last of Us Part 1 3 times. And the TV show was obviously phenomenal, and that brought a lot of new people in. So I think when you look at something like what Sony thinks will bring people to a VR headset, I do think that a first-person version of The Last of Us Part 1 would be perfect, and I also think that it would reinforce why they charged the $70 price point for a game that came out on PlayStation 3. Say, hey, here you go. If anybody who owns The Last of Us Part 1 on PlayStation 5, we made it first-person VR, and if you have a PlayStation VR2 headset, you now own this game. I think that would be perfect. The 3D audio would absolutely kick ass, and I'm wondering just how much they could eliminate the outlines of the clickers, right? Like when you go into like the detective vision mode, whatever the fuck they call it in The Last of Us. I wonder how much they could eliminate that and replace it with literal 3D audio to hear where the clickers are and kind of maneuver your way through those stealth sections.
Yeah, that universe seems like it would be so much fun to get in there. And yeah, like I said, especially when you see that first person mod that somebody did, it's just like, oh, that's where everybody's mind went immediately. It was like, oh, this needs to be a thing. And next will come VR, but Naughty Dog makes great games, and yeah, I'd be down for whatever they made in VR. I'd be down.
A couple tips, AJ. Gamecat Chicago with another $5 says, I have faith in Bluepoint. They've earned the freedom to do whatever they want with Sony's funding. They've earned their freedom, AJ. Gamecat Chicago. You heard it first. That's fucking messed up. Looper the Underground Gamecat with the €5 says, have you seen the tweet about PSVR2 by Naughty Dog Central from March 14th? Isn't Naughty Dog Central the fan the fan profile? Hold on. Are you looking this up for me?
No, I'm trying to find what have you seen the tweet about PSVR2? I was trying to get caught up with what you said.
Naughty Dog Central. Here we go. Bringing you the latest Naughty Dog. Was it March 14th? March 14th. We're in April. Look at Looper making me do work. April. Jesus, there's a lot of tweets on this thing. April. I'm just going to keep scrolling. There's no way I'm even in March yet. April. He's probably already copied and pasted into the chat. I bet everyone's copied and pasted into the chat. But too bad, guys. I'm doing this.
Gotta give us a link.
I don't think they can do links in the chat. I'm scrolling faster. March 21st. We're almost there, AJ. It's probably 17.
You got a full screen?
Oh, no. You're asking a lot right now. March 16th, 15th. It's 14th we're looking for, right? March 14th. I'm looking. With the PlayStation VR2 now available globally, would you like to see Naughty Dog create a VR title? Oh,
interesting.
I liked this tweet, AJ.
Yeah. I'm surprised we didn't see this before.
I mean, I hearted it, so I guess I did. But I don't know. This is just their community Twitter account? This is an official Twitter account, huh? Crazy.
I guess so.
Okay, holy crap. That was quite the diversion. Just want to make sure we didn't miss anything. All right. AJ, moving along. We got to get down to Pixel Opus here.
Pixel Opus. Last thing we know they made was what was that game called?
Concrete Genie.
Concrete Genie, thank you. And of course did feature a little VR experience that lasted about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes.
Made by White Moon
cute.
Dreams.
It was fun. Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and surprisingly enough, like it was pretty good. That doesn't surprise me that White Moon Dreams did it, because for what it was actually pretty decent, at least the 3D painting mode. Yeah, I don't know. This is, to me, they're like kind of like a Media Molecule adjacent kind of studio, and from what I've seen from them.
Yeah, I can't imagine that whatever they're doing next. Like honestly, like when I saw Concrete Genie, I was like, "Ooh, this has an amazing art style. This looks really cool. I'd love to play this whole thing in first-person VR, or even third-person VR." To be honest, like I thought the character designs were great. I don't have a lot of hope that whatever they're doing next. So it says some rumors purport it to be a new Sly Cooper game. That would be cool.
Wow, they went from Entwined to Concrete Genie. That's pretty impressive. It's a pretty big jump.
I remember Entwined, but I can't picture it. It doesn't matter.
I think it was like, I don't know if it was the fish and the bird like swirling down that tunnel, if it was that game or not. It was like some indie game. Next, anyways, next we have San Diego Studio, who have made basically what they're mostly known for is the MLB Show series. And why has this not come to PSVR2 yet?
I have no idea. It's absolutely ridiculous for a game that's mostly swinging a bat and throwing a ball. I don't understand.
For real.
Right? Why is there not just a VR mode, or why isn't it just an option to play in VR? Makes absolutely no fucking sense. If this doesn't come to PSVR2, like I'm just going to be absolutely shocked, because it makes no sense why it hasn't already.
Well, they're currently making MLB The Show 23, so
Shocker.
Let's hope and pray for a VR mode, because baseball would be super fun. Even that little crappy home run derby game was pretty fun
for
in a way.
30 seconds.
Yeah, but a real game would be nice.
Yeah. It does say old rumors suggest that it could be helping out on a new Uncharted game, but there's no
really
up-to-date evidence. Yeah, really strange. But so it seems like Sony first-party studios all work together.
All right, Brian, I want to get your opinion on Santa Monica Studio.
Well, Santa Monica Studio last released God of War Ragnarok for PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. Cory Barlog, the studio creative director, is currently working on something else. But what that is remains a mystery for now.
Looper, do they have any like tweets talking about, like when now that God of War Ragnarok is out, how'd you guys like to see us make a VR game? Anything like that, Looper?
Yeah. This is, I don't know how Ragnarok sold. I'm sure it was amazing and everybody fucking loved it. Reviewed really well, 10 out of 10, blah, blah, blah. Game of the Year nominations across the board, right? I can only imagine that after doing God of War and God of War Ragnarok, Santa Monica wants to do something else for a minute. And so what that is, I have no idea. I really hope Cory Barlog likes VR. And I got to say, AJ, there's too many first-party studios are making third-person narrative-driven games. Third-person, because these are the games that I grew up loving, right? I wanted third-person. I didn't like first-person games for the longest time.
I know, right? Yeah. I'm totally with you there. Like I begged for this for so long. Now I got it, and I'm like, no more.
Right? It's just a lot of the same stuff. It's almost like you say, well, are all these made by the same studio, right? Like, because it's all third-person narrative-driven action games, and I think they're all phenomenal. But also, I think that the audience might get burned out, and so obviously some studios are going to keep making those things, but some have to kind of like move on and do something a little bit different, a little bit more creative. We'll see.
Yeah.
Sucker Punch, AJ.
Ghost of Tsushima, like I was saying.
The studio has wrapped up post-launch support for Ghost of Tsushima and the multiplayer Legends spin-off. Future projects are currently unknown, although a sequel to Jin's open-world samurai adventure seems assured.
Yeah, just a studio, another one of those studios where it's like, I'll take anything.
Yeah.
Just give me anything you make in VR and I'll be happy, because everything you make is, off the top of my head, really good.
Yeah, when we started this before we went live, I think one of the last things I said was, let's not make it a wish list. Let's make sure that every time a studio gets mentioned, let's not say, well, I wish they were doing this, or but I really wish they were doing an infamous VR game. Nothing screams VR more than playing as Cole McGrath, is that his name? In first person, or is Mark McGrath? Is that that's the wrong guy?
That's the wrong one. Yeah. That's
Sugar Ray. But I mean, like, just using the Sense controllers and putting your arms out and and like hovering in VR or flying first person.
Now I feel terrible for knowing that. Now you made me feel terrible for even knowing that.
You're welcome.
You know what I would like more than Infamous? Sunset Overdrive. I don't think they could do that.
Yeah,
I like Sunset Overdrive more than Infamous, which I know is probably blasphemy.
Wasn't
actually my favorite.
Wait, wasn't that Insomniac?
Oh God, I'm so confused now.
I think that was like Insomniac's last Xbox game.
I do confuse. Nothing ever changes, because I've always confused Insomniac and Sucker Punch my entire life. So it makes perfect sense that I continue to do it to this day.
I mean, once upon a time, simultaneously they were making, one was making Ratchet and Clank games, the other was making Sly Cooper games. It's just like, it's easy to, yeah. I'm giving you a way out.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
What the hell is Valkyrie Entertainment? It's a support studio that has worked on a myriad of key releases for Sony and other publishers. Following its work on God of War, Sony acquired this team in late 2021. Current projects: Valkyrie has helped Santa Monica Studio bring God of War Ragnarok to life. Beyond that, listing suggests it has multiple projects in the works, including mobile and console games. Oh, and an unannounced strategy title. Interesting. Dude, I know nothing about the history of Valkyrie, really. And I don't think
the name sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this would be pure speculation. Obviously, a big support studio, but yeah, this is the last one.
Aliens Fire Team, Middle Earth, Shadow of War, Injustice 2. Mm-hmm. Batman Arkham Origins. Well, like you said, support, because I think that was obviously Rocksteady that made Arkham, right?
Yes, Rocksteady. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I hate to get. Yeah, I feel like oh, we were pretty good on all of these, and then Valkyrie came up, and we're like, we don't fucking know. Moving along. Okay.
Yeah. So, but that's about it. I mean, so the big ones, Polyphony, we think are going to get more support. Team Asobi, did you say you think they're going to be doing some kind of Astro in VR? What do you think the likelihood of that?
Dude, 100%. I don't think there's any question about this whatsoever. I think that Team Asobi is absolutely making Astrobot's Rescue Mission 2. Or Astrobot Rescue Mission 2, probably a 1.5 version of Astrobot Rescue Mission 1 to use the Sense controllers. Bring that game over, because everyone loves that game. And then, who knows? Maybe doing something for the flat screen, but I kind of hope, fuck it, right? Who cares? Like, if you fell in love with Astrobot because of how he showed you how cool the Sense control, DualSense could be, well, then go buy yourself a PSVR2 headset and follow the adventures of your beloved robot.
I mean, dude, like, that the Astro's Playroom was great, but Astrobot Rescue Mission was like 8 times better.
Yeah.
And like, it was a phenomenal game. One of the best games I've ever played ever. So yeah, that is hopefully a thing. So Firesprite as well, they're a VR studio. Like, so you'd really think and hope that one of these things they're working on is VR, whether it be Twisted Metal, please, or just some actual dark narrative adventure game. Please, either one. I'll take it. I'll give Firesprite they have a free pass for life because of the persistence and remaster persistence.
For sure. Also, I should probably say I have no idea where that Star Citizen rumor came from. I feel like I may have dreamt it. And now you guys are just like being invited into my dreams and be like, oh, the other night I dreamt that Star Citizen is coming to PSVR2. And now it's going to make headlines because I dreamt a rumor.
Housemarque, we're hoping, is working on something Returnal. XDev, we're hoping is, there's this rumor of this Wipeout game. Insomniac Games, we're hoping for Spider-Man or Wolverine, or just something else by them that's in VR. Same with Naughty Dog. But yeah, man, we'll see. We'll wait and see. Obviously, there's going to be some new IPs in there, right? Like we can't predict what a new IP that we know absolutely nothing about is. Right. But there's got to be out of 20 studios, and us knowing that Sony literally said like they're going to have a focus on hybrid games at some point, or they just said a focus on remasters and hybrid games. Show us the remasters and hybrid games, Sony. Ball's in your court. Yeah. Do it.
Yeah, I think we're so close to a Sony showcase, and because every day that we don't get one, we're a day closer. Who the fuck knows when it's happening? But there's obviously rumors that it's happening at the end of May, beginning of June. That's the new Jeff Grubb rumor. And I mean, AJ, there's no possibility, right, that there's not going to be a showcase this year. I mean, or at this point, do we just say there's no fucking way we can predict Sony, and so let's just stop predicting Sony?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of did that a long time ago. But now that the dust has settled, PSVR2 came out, so I think eventually they have to do something. I don't think they can just not do that forever if they want to keep selling PS5s at a rapid pace.
Well, the problem is,
I think they're waiting for games to be ready. They're waiting for. Yeah. Them to I think they'll do big stuff once it's ready.
Yeah, I mean I agree, but also I feel like there's not a lot of pressure on them currently, right? I feel like that maybe Xbox is doing kind of horribly. Like they're not the sales figures for Xbox consoles are not doing well, and then this
is what happens when there's lack of competition. I mean, if anything, Nintendo is better competition right now, but this is what happens when there's a lack of competition, and
so there's no fire under their ass whatsoever to make anything happen. Right. And so they're like, we're outselling Xbox 3-1 or something like that, and we're actually releasing first party AAA games, and Microsoft has gone a year or longer without having done that. So Sony actually probably sees themselves as in a really good position, despite the fact that all PlayStation gamers are like, dude, show us what's next. Like we're desperately like, we need to see what's happening, what's coming next. Because as much as we love PlayStation, as much as we love the first party games, we have no idea what's coming next. And that's really frustrating.
Well, we'll get there eventually. And it's going to be great, man. It's going to be really, really good. It may not be a AAA game a month, like some people think. Not us, not any of us, because we know better. No. But we're certainly going to savor our AAA games and enjoy the smaller titles in the meantime.
Speaking of small titles, AJ, you ready for a little game of PSVR 20 questions?
I am, Brian. Let's do this, man.
All right. I don't know what it has to do with small titles. This may or may not be a small title.
I was trying to put that together, and I was like, I don't get it.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I let it go.
If you guys don't know how this works, every episode, one of us plays the role of the host. That's me. And I get to pick a PlayStation VR 1 or maybe PSVR 2 or maybe both game. And AJ and all you guys out there only have 6 minutes and 20 yes or no questions to figure out what game I'm thinking of. AJ, are you ready? Are you ready?
I guess so, man. You ready to do this, cats? Love it. Is this game currently on PSVR 2?
No. Didn't fucked.
Think so. So it's a PSVR 1 game. Oh God, was it Elvert that did what did he do Friday?
Oh, you are wasting so much time already.
Oh my God, Elvert did, but it was worth it because Elvert did something absolutely bonkers. Oh, he did Minimech Mayhem. I was like, holy shit.
You've got 5.5 minutes left. You're only got one question out.
All right. So it's PSVR 1. Is it announced for PSVR 2 or expected to come to PSVR 2?
No.
Okay, so it's just a PSVR1 game. Does it use joysticks?
Yes. No. Yes. No. Oh no. Now I'm AJing the fuck out of this. No, it does not. No, it does not. If I have to change that, I will. But it does.
It's probably moves only. Is what it sounds like.
Moves. Yeah, we're gonna go with that.
Is there multiplayer? Says Bambino Ramos.
Okay, here's the problem. It says enhanced play with 2 move controllers. I don't believe you can actually use anything else. Just telling you that right off the bat.
Okay. Does it have multiplayer, Brian?
It does have multiplayer, AJ.
It does have multiplayer.
Yeah. Yep.
Moves and multiplayer. Is it a shooter?
You do some shooting.
Some shooting.
I wouldn't call it a shooter, AJ, but you do some shooting.
There's some shooting. Let's see here.
That's 5, by the way.
Is it first person?
Yes.
Ooh. Is this game free?
No.
No, not free. It's not Rec Room.
Is this game?
I don't think Carnival Games has multiplayer.
Carnival Games does not have multiplayer.
Yeah. No, but I like to think. Okay, let me just start throwing some other stuff to narrow this down. Is it co-op?
Yes.
It is co-op. Is there full locomotion?
Yes.
Is it sci-fi?
Yes, that's 10.
Guys, I think I know what this is.
What the fuck?
Maybe. Is there low gravity where you can fly or like float around in this game?
Yes.
Oh shit. Now this is the hard part, guys. I gotta remember what the name of the game was because I don't remember. What's the game where you fly around? You've got like a gun with a. Okay. Is there shit. It's not No Man's Sky. No, it's not Detached. It's the other game that came out around that time. No, it's not Farpoint. Oh, nobody knows, Brian. You chose a game. It's actually a pretty decent game.
I checked your trophy list. You've got 80% of the trophies in it. So you've definitely played the crap out of it.
Yes, I have definitely played it. Guys, it's a co-op game where you're exploring a ship with like it's 2-player co-op. Shit, how much time do we have left?
2 minutes.
Does this game have like, oh, yes. Okay, there we go. Did this game kind of release in what seemed like an unfinished state a little bit?
Like most PSVR games, this game did release in what kind of seemed like an unfinished state a little bit.
Highlight notes. Let's take it home, baby. Is this game Downward Spiral Horror Station?
Why you do me dirty like that, highlight notes? I thought we were friends.
Yes.
This game is Downward Spiral Horror Station that came out September 17th, 2018. I think the reason, AJ, for the confusion on the control scheme is because you can play it in flat screen with the DualShock, but I'm pretty sure you need the Move controllers to play it in VR. 99% sure about that.
You can play it flat screen. Are you sure?
100%.
Weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Highlight note says, I finally got one.
There's one person out there that remembers.
Yeah.
Dude, I actually beat this game. I played through this game with Ryan from the VR Grid. And
I'm so sorry for both
of you. That's like the only game we've ever played together. No, it was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It definitely had its little bit of like jank and stuff here. And but it's cool. You literally explore a space station in like zero gravity. You have like different tools and weapons. You have like a grappling hook that you shoot onto the wall and you pull yourself. And there's like robots that are trying to kill you and shit. And I thought this was a pretty decent game actually, despite with the asterisk that it was like completely unfinished. But it was cool.
Yeah, no, I've got a lot of fond memories of this game. Dave and I spent like 4 hours playing through this game in co-op one night together. And we just shared a lot of stories together because there's a lot of downtime in this game where we're just grappling around from one area to another, and it's a lot of fun. And
this is a good bad game. This is a very very good bad game.
This is one of the many games, AJ, that I have a full script written for a review, and hours and hours of gameplay captured, but never actually did the review. But this would be a perfect 7.5 out of 10 back in those days. Good time with somebody else for sure. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out. This was a fun show as always. AJ, a long show today, so thank you for being here. Always appreciate it.
My pleasure, my friend. Quit acting like you, like I didn't like choose to stay here. You like, I can't, seriously, guys, I can't get rid of them.
AJ, you've now earned your freedom.
Oh Lordy! Oh my God!
Listen, guys, AJ, make sure you go subscribe to AJ's channel. There's 90,000 of you over here, and only 10,000 on AJ's channel. There's a disproportionate number of cats that are hanging out here and not there. So make sure you click the link in the description, go below, and go subscribe to AJ at PSVR Underground. There's a lot of great stuff. Guys, thank you everybody who changed.
Come see PSVR Gamescast live without Brian every Thursday. And then
I'm not gonna lie, AJ, it's a market improvement over what we're doing over here.
No, man, it's I gotta get you on there sometime. We'll basically do the same thing just over there with no rules. You can come ruin my show like I come ruin your show.
Can I come on your show without pants the way that I do this show?
You can wear whatever you want, but yeah, man. And then Saturday night live streams returns this weekend. Disclaimer: it might not be on Saturday. It might be Friday night.
This is false advertising, AJ,
and it might be Sunday. But that's also coming back, and we'll be doing I'll have every game on the library. I'm picking up Les Mills Body Combat, or whatever the hell its stupid name it's called. I'm picking up Tentacular, Ragnarok, Kizuna AI, whatever. I'm spending all my money on expensive garbage games just for you guys. So come hang out and request them to make it not a complete waste of money.
We like making AJ miserable is what he's trying to say. Make him play terrible games, and we get to laugh at him while he does. All right, you guys. Thank you all so much for hanging out. We appreciate everybody who helps this channel financially. Everyone who's a member over here, who's a member who supports us on patreon.com/withoutparole everyone that helps the channel run, J Meow, Sci-Fi Gamecat, Henry, all of my amazing mods. I love you guys so very much. Congratulations, Geisen, by the way. Fucking Geisen got a killer job. So congratulate.
Hell yeah.
Everybody in the chat, congratulate
Geisen. You guys, son.
And of course, everybody who hangs out here, who tips during the show, who comments, who helps during 20 questions, and all of you out there who sit back and watch the show and don't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much. AJ, it's Monday. Make you the cat.
Cue the cat, Brian, because I want to say see you guys on West Day, baby, to GC, the Diet Pepsi cat, who just got here, apparently. Just got here, always showed up, is in typical GC fashion, shows up at the end of the show as it's ending. I'm going to pretend like I didn't see her earlier. Shapeshifter, the Anamorphous Game Cat, later homie, Chrome Colossus, Blue Jew, the Underground Game Cat Elite Name Squad in the house. Thank you so much. Steve, IRE, pink wavy hand to you as well. Neon pink hand.
What's wrong with your hand?
Mark, Leaf, yeah, go see a doctor right away, please. Mark, Pringles, Leaf, once you pop the mark, don't stop, baby. Kill Artist, the Dream Weaver. How was Evil Dead? Did you go see it? I said half my friends went and saw it. I don't know who.
Kill Artist said it was good.
Gabriel 004, the licensed to meow game cat. Meow, 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 meow. How about a James Bond game in VR? Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Wait, isn't that what IO Interactive is working on?
They are working on that, but will it have VR support? I don't know. They haven't even added VR support to PSVR2 support to Hitman.
No one knows.
Hard to get. I think people pissed them off when they fucking destroyed them for their implementation. Virtual strangers in the house tonight. What is up, Wes, my dude? I've been talking to virtual strangers behind your back, Brian. How's that make you feel? Huh?
I mean,
it's just about video games. Rody the Gamecat Army General in the house tonight. Grumpy Williams as well says AJ, all VR is somewhat enjoyable. I disagree, Grumpy. And for somebody who's named Grumpy Williams, you should disagree a little too. Just kidding, man. VR does make everything better, even shitty sci-fi unfinished games. Goody, damn it, Goody. Good to see you, man. Nihilus Riley, Cape Feline. Elvert says Ghost of Timor hype. Mad Vegan says ciao. Robert Lawrence, thank you so much, man. Titanfall 2, man. VR. One day. It'll happen, my brother. No, I wouldn't get your hopes up, but we could dream, can't we? Let's just pretend like we're playing Titanfall 2 in VR. Joshua Taylor says, go, guys, son. I agree. Defunct Bomb Bro, the Game Cat is meowing. Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry says, party on and be excellent to each other. Guys, a perky PSVR Game Cat says, you can fight crime and still be evil. I missed that conversation. Oh, guys, you have a wonderful night.
Dude, I'm gonna have a wonderful night. I'm gonna go play some more Dead Island 2. Also,
dude, I'm gonna go probably play some more Resident Evil Village, so I'll probably have a better time.
Okay. Well, everyone keep an eye out because my new sizzle reel of all the upcoming PSVR2 games should be up in about an hour or so.
And our top 20 debate is only a couple months away, so be excited right now for that.
A couple months, man, it feels like an eternity. Remember when we were like, oh my god, PSVR2 is like probably 2 years away, and then a year in that we found out it was like 2 years away. We're like, why is PSVR2 so far away?
It's over, Brian. It's over. You don't have to be afraid.
It is over. PSVR2 is dead on arrival, apparently. I guess we can all go get some sleep. Good night, everyone.